And I wondered, how could any man love me if my own father doesn't love me? And that seed planted such a deep root cause for me that drugs were the answer. It was the only thing that took that pain and question away from me.
Happy 2026. This is so cool. This is our first podcast of 2026, and you get to watch it. I am excited. My name is Peter Anthony. I am the host of the Utah Business Spotlight, and today I am here with someone who's dynamic, gorgeous, incredibly brave, courageous, and out there turning the world to fire, my friend Malory Jacobs. She's going to talk about Huss, and we're going to introduce her right now. Malory, welcome to the Utah Business Spotlight. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Peter.
What a journey. Tell us, what does Huss stand for? Tell everybody what Huss stands for.
So Huss is the Healing Utah Success Summit.
Healing Utah Success Summit. I love that.
Absolutely.
Like, we all need some healing.
Oh, yeah. Everyone
and we all
needs
need
some
success
healing.
after we heal.
Absolutely.
Right? That's actually maybe the bridge, right? Because in order to heal, you need to believe that success is on the other side, that your life will change.
Absolutely.
That there's something that's going to happen to make you wake up. I know you went through that journey personally. Tell us a little about how Huss started.
So I was facing nearly 30 years in prison by the time I was 19.
30 years in prison?
30 years
at
in
19.
prison. I don't look like it though, right?
Oh, man, you look great.
This is what comes out on the other side of healing, Peter, see?
I love that.
But facing that amount of time, for choices that I had made in addiction was terrifying. To be so young, my whole life was over, basically, so I thought. And I was able to surround myself with people and find mentors that taught me what healing was, what success looked like, and taught me the value of who I was. So once I was able to realize my value, everything started looking up, and I was able to actually go through the process.
Which is incredibly interesting. I have a similar story at 19, and we'll go back and forth with our stories. But that led you to write a best-selling book. What's the name of the book?
Inspired to Recover: An Addict's Journey Through Addiction and Healing.
So Inspired to Recover, and it's available on Amazon right now. So Inspired to Recover. And I know you have a website, so let's get to that, really, because you have an event coming up in October?
Yes, in October. The Huss is in October. This will be our 5th year, and it's going to be the biggest one that we've had so far. We have some amazing ideas and speakers and big surprises in store for everyone.
Oh, yeah,
so.
I'll definitely be there, so I'm looking forward to making sure that you guys are there. And Huss is Healing Utah Success Summit, which I love. I mean, you couldn't ask for that's an SEO dream, right? So we're really excited about that. But 19's that pivotal age.
Absolutely.
So for many of you who follow us, at 19, when my daughter turned 19, we lost her to drugs. She was in and out of a rehab, and that was heartbreaking. And it happens like this, and you don't think that good families have that going down. You think it's always like, I grew up on welfare, so it certainly should have happened to me, right? But when you get into that point, 19, 18, 17, pivotal ages, your brain's not formed. You're making decisions with other parts of your body instead of your head. You're passionate, you're strong, you think you're invincible. And there's a level of excitement. I mean, I grew up in New York City. By the time I was 19, I was one of the top DJs in New York City. 19 to about 27. I started DJing at 17, but I was really DJing in these big clubs. And in the early 80s and late 70s, man, you DJ'd at a club, it was drug central.
Oh, absolutely.
It was crazy.
Sure, I'm sure.
It was crazy. And you're listening to music, and you're drinking, and then all of a sudden celebrities are surrounding you.
And this mentality, right, of like, I'm young, and this is fun. I have the ability to live life to the fullest. And we get this idea in our head that that's that's what's exciting about life, and that's what it should look like at that age. I definitely was a 19-year-old who just wanted to live life to the fullest. I had grown up in...
So to take a step back, because I really want to dial into something. I think that you just hit something that I really didn't think about. live life to the fullest. What you do, and I've gone through your book and I've read up on your seminars, I can't wait to go to them, but you redefine what the fullest means.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Live life to the fullest. We think as children that to the fullest means to dance until it's sunrise and to drink until we're sober, which we never become. Is that living life to the fullest?
No. Nope. Living life to the fullest is being able to chase dreams with ambition and help people around you with education, right? Education is the value of success, and it only works if it gets to people before the crisis. I was doing a lot of speaking seminars at rehabs, prison facilities, and I love that and I enjoy that. But the problem and what I realized was that going into a rehab and a prison, they're already in the thick of it, right? They've made their choices, and now it's about pulling them out. And I decided that I wanted to get into rooms with the young, with the ones that didn't have the proper education to keep themselves from going down the paths that, we potentially had before it was too late.
So is that what Huss is now focused on, is bringing in young people? So what I love that, because most people want to treat the symptoms or the result instead of diluting the cause.
Yeah, so let me go back a little bit. So when I first started speaking, I actually walked into my high school where my story started down in St. George, and I went and spoke to that school first. Walked in, the principal was like, yes, come speak for us. And that was my very first speaking engagement to the youth. And what happened after the 5th, 6th speaking engagement with them, I realized that parents were calling me, emailing me, asking, hey, why can't I get in here and hear you speak, hear what you're teaching, right? And I had this realization. Why aren't we educating the people who are supposed to be educating their children, right?
So let's go back, because I want to turn that into a clip. Why aren't we educating the people who are supposed to be educating our children?
Exactly.
Because when you become a parent, there's no playbook, right? They don't give you, it's like, here's how to change a diaper, here's how to feed them, but not how to nurture them.
Yep.
Not how to nurture their souls and embed embed and encourage the beauty within them, so that they can always be there for themselves.
Well, and something too, Peter, adults do the best they can with what they know, right? So it's a generational repetition. If the grandparents didn't teach the parents how to teach their children, this is the generational repetition that I'm trying to change, the cycle I'm trying to break.
So say that again, because I want the audience to really hear it.
Adults do the best they can with what they know and the tools that they were given. Yep.
You do the best you can with what you know. That predicates and demands that you need to become a deeper level of student of life.
Yep.
In order to know more, so that you can do better.
And what happens?
And I love that, because that's the philosophy of success.
Yes, and what happens when you're an adult, right, who let's say is in a more of a poverty level or a medium lower class, sure, right? You're trying to survive, you're getting your kids to school, you're doing the basics to live. You stop educating yourself naturally, because life gets in the way.
Well, life takes control, right?
Absolutely.
It's interesting, because we were talking prior to this, we were sitting and we were having a conversation about where addictions start today. We're addicted to these little machines, these cell phones,
yep,
right? And they're designed to be addictive. I know the programmers who designed them. They're designed to be addictive. They're designed to show you more of what you want, not more of who you need to become.
Exactly.
They show you more, like, I own a marketing agency called The Incubator, which, it's a selfish plug. But the great thing about marketing is that we're putting in front of you the sizzle, right? But not necessarily the journey. So
right.
let's break down success really. Success comes at a cost. Fact. Success doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
It comes with input daily, like any other faith, you have to believe before you achieve. And the achievement happens through belief, and not necessarily through action. I've seen a lot of people take massive action. I've worked with Tony Robbins for 40 years. I've seen them take massive action with zero results because they didn't have the belief. I've seen people take strong action with incredible levels of belief of who they are, and they become extraordinary instantly. Like boom. Now, all the rewards of that instantaneous excellence come over time.
Right.
But the momentum, the shift, and that's the same thing we talk about when we talk about addictions, man. It's the moment you decide. I remember the moment I decided that I would never do drugs again. And we might have talked about this story. I'll share it with you and then give me your feedback. Because I know you're one of the top addiction coaches in the country right now, and certainly in the area. But I was DJing all night, hustle, 3-4 nights in a row, building my salons. And I remember I'm Italian, so every Sunday I'd cook with my grandmother, right? It was awesome. I'd show up, but now, in New York, the nightclubs were open till 4 a.m. So you weren't getting out of the nightclub till 4:30, 5 o'clock. Yeah. Big drag. Terrible. Nightclubs should never, any states that are listening to this, create legislation. Your brain changes its capacity at 12 o'clock to make rational decisions. Bad things happen at night because your brain is different at night than it is during the day. It's a crazy thing. We can talk about that phenomenon. So my undeveloped 22-year-old brain.
Kind of like you can't drive from 12 to 6 if you're under the age of 18,
yeah,
right?
because you're a different person.
Yep.
So I walked into the house, my grandmother, right, Italian, like full-on Goomba mobstered up Italian, right, the Bonanno family. Okay. Right, and I walk in, and she looks at me, and she says, Peter Anthony, God's got a bigger plan for you. That's all she said. God's got a bigger plan for you than what you're doing with because she knew I was up for 4 days, doing whatever you have to do to stay up for 4 days without going to sleep.
Right.
DJing in these nightclubs, looking like a train wreck, feeling like a train wreck, and convincing myself I'm cool. And I looked at my grandmother and I thought about that moment because I didn't really understand my relationship with God until that moment. And I said, I didn't even know God knew who I was.
Right.
Never mind had a plan for me. And if it was possible that God had a plan for me, what would that look like? And the only way I would ever know is to stop doing things that disappointed God. And one of them was cocaine. Never did it again. Never did any drugs after that again. When I stopped, I didn't need rehab. My friends did. I didn't need to go, right? What I needed was a compelling future, which in one sentence my grandmother gave me. That someone had a plan for me. I was given up for adoption. I didn't know anybody had a plan for me. But as soon as I understood that it was possible that God maybe knew who I was, and I was like, how can I make sure he knows who I am? And I started trying to do things that would make my Heavenly Father smile. And 90% of the time I fail because I'm a train wreck. But I'm a train wreck who doesn't have to do drugs anymore. I'm still going to be a train wreck. I just, does that make sense?
Yeah, we're human, absolutely.
And how do you bring that to the light for others so that they don't have to walk that journey that you and I had to walk? Because I could tell you too, I was never facing jail time, but I should have 10, 20 times.
Right? How many things we got away with in that train wreck?
How many bullets didn't hit me?
Exactly.
Like little Roy bullets didn't hit me.
Yeah,
I
was just talking to my boyfriend last night actually about how cats have 9 lives, and wow, did we have way more than 9?
I know,
oh my
it's
gosh,
crazy.
right?
Someone came to me and said, and tell me what you feel, I need you to chime in on this.
Okay.
Someone said to me, man, I can't believe God's making my life so tough. Like, why is he giving me all of these hardships? Peter, I don't know why, and I felt for a hyper moment like Job, like in the book of Job, right? And I thought to myself, and then I said, I got to really walk this person through it. I think that God gives his greatest warriors the hardest journeys because he's preparing us to walk others through the fire that they could never have walked by themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
So preparation and destruction look the same.
Ooh. That's like the fourth wisdom thing you've said in a row. Extrapolate.
I'm full of it.
I know.
Let me tell you, I'm a guru.
Tell me more. I love that. Preparation and destruction look the same.
Absolutely. So, we don't send soldiers to war until they're trained, right? There's a training process that has to happen, an education that has to be given for you to fight, a war, right? And that's exactly the analogy that changed my entire mentality when it came to being in the recovery industry. And,
because
and
you have
wanting
to see
change
yourself,
people's
because
lives.
when you get there, you see yourself as a civilian. You arrive as a civilian. You leave training as a warrior.
Well, an addiction is a symptom, right? You have to identify the cause, and that's what HUS is about, identifying the under cause. Why are you running, coping, or drowning from something? And what is that? Once you can heal that root, then the rest disappears automatically.
So you're running, coping, or
drowning.
You're running, coping, or drowning. Oh my gosh, it's going to tear me, man. You're running, coping, or drowning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always it's an inner pain, right? One common denominator between many addicts, and including myself, is the lack of love and connection. Growing up, I didn't really understand what the meaning of love was. And I thought achieving straight A's in school defined this worth that made me lovable, right? How can I be a failure if I'm a straight A student that's successful? Right. So I started going after all these dreams. And in the midst of that, still was weak because my root cause was, am I worthy of love?
And the speed at which your physiology changes with drugs is incredible. It's like it's instant addiction for many people because you feel something. What you're saying is, I wasn't feeling something. I was trying to get it with straight A's. I still wasn't feeling it. Exactly. But then that instantaneous feeling that I've been looking for, wow, it was in this pill or this line or this drink or this needle. And it's like, what the heck just happened? I've been looking for this all my life. Was it that easy?
And what I've seen more often than not, Peter, is it's not necessarily the dopamine excitement that people are chasing of a drug. It's that it band-aids the pain and takes the pain away that they're running from.
Yeah.
Right?
And now, and I haven't thought about this in, whatever it's been, 40 years, man. But as I look back and I think to myself, about my own journey, I was looking for acceptance. I was the kid who was given up for adoption. And I was looking for acceptance in any community that would have
to
me.
Belong.
Right? And in the easiest communities that'll have you generally are artistic communities, right? DJs, hairdressers, right? They're going to accept you as you are because we're all celebrating their thing, but it's the enlightened ones that kind of can herd those lost sheep.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
bring them back to alignment with themselves.
So,
that's a crazy path.
My mentor, the whole reason that I do what I do, Chuck Marshall, he was my mentor. He became my probation officer once I was...
He's in the book, right?
He is, yeah. He's the whole reason I wrote the book. One of the most amazing men. My root cause was the absence of my father. Why am I not enough, right?
You hear that, boys? You want to ruin a woman? Don't raise her.
Yeah,
Absence.
absolutely. And I wondered, how could any man love me if my own father doesn't love me? And that seed planted such a deep root cause for me that drugs were the answer. It was the only thing that took that pain and question away from me.
Brutal.
But my mentor coming in showed me a love that I didn't even know existed because he was consistent, he was compassionate, he taught me how to love myself, right? He loved me until I was strong enough to love myself.
Wow.
And it bloomed and blossomed into me, getting a bachelor's degree in healthcare admin, because I thought that that's the place I was going to be able to help the most addicts, was the loopholes in opioid addiction and the crises that were happening. And then once I graduated with him and I was done with probation and I had been clean for 2.5 years, he passed away from pancreatic cancer. And on his deathbed asked me to promise to tell my story. He's like, promise me you're going to tell our story. And one thing that I remembered last night as I was preparing to come see you, one thing he told me was, forget what you want because God knows what you deserve.
Whoa, beast mode.
Boom!
Forget what you want because God knows what you deserve. I love that.
And so in order to receive the things we deserve, we must allow the removal of the things that aren't good enough, right? So you girls that are going through breakups, people going through divorces, when things are being taken out of your life, they're being removed so that there's a place for the things you deserve to be.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it's interesting, my grandmother passed away 1.5 years after I got sober.
Right?
And she had cancer, yeah. But I think she was there. I really think that God left her in my path to make sure that I healed.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's the journey. That's how we heal others. You got one 30-second piece of advice to give people.
Well, did you know every 5 minutes someone dies from an overdose? So by the time this podcast is over, Peter, many families have already lost someone that they love. Education does not work until it gets to the people before the crisis. That's what HUS is about. It's a motivational, educational event where anyone can come. Addiction is an uncappable audience because, like you said earlier, everyone is addicted to something. So I want to be able to build a community and allow HUS to blossom into a place to belong for many people who are trying to run, cope, or drown. No more overdoses.
Whoa, man, first and foremost, we got to have you on again because we can just pontificate for days.
Yeah.
The stories that you have that you haven't even shared with us are going to be incredible as they manifest themselves and as they teach. Here's one thing I want to leave everybody with today. You cannot change the world if you can't find your message. And you have to find your message and execute on it daily. It's very important. If you have something to say, then say it. Man, this is the Utah Business Spotlight. Today we're spotlighting Malory Jacobs. We're spotlighting HUS. Go out, find her, get her book, support her community, look up the website. It's
Healing Utah Success Summit, or I just changed it. The HealingSuccessSummit.com.
the Healing
Go
Success.
sign up for the HUS. It's going to be the best. We're all still human, aren't we, Peter?
We are, man. This was great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Find out more. Spotlight your business.